As Jesus is looking down from the cross, he sees a few things. He sees the soldiers who had dismissed him as they sat there and they cast lots for his clothes, gambling at the foot of the cross. He sees his own people who had rejected him and turned their back on him. He sees the Roman soldiers who had tortured him. But I believe one of the most painful things that Jesus saw as he looked down from the cross was he saw his own people who had deserted him, those who were closest to him. You know, when he's sitting there, and everyone, the Bible tells us that everybody but John was recorded as being at his crucifixion. There was a time where he just came to the point where everybody just scattered. And that happens a lot with Jesus, it seems like. Jesus calls you to get involved with a ministry in church, and you're all for it. You're going along as long as the free ride seems to be going out. As DJ mentioned the other night, we got a lot of takers and not a lot of bakers, when it comes to giving out bread. And so when you're called to become a baker instead of a taker, you say, oh, wait a minute, that's a little bit more than I wanted to get involved with. And maybe that's kind of what Jesus went through as he saw the disciples that day. Have you ever been deserted, probably in your greatest hour of need? I mean, there was something in your life that was really going on, and it really, really was a dire circumstance. And everywhere you turned, there was nobody there. It was something you had to bear on your own. That's where Jesus is in his life here. Maybe you heard about the Desert Storm soldier back few years ago as that war was raging on. And he received what's known as a Dear John letter. The girl that he was so much in love with sent him a letter telling him that she had in fact met someone else. And went on to say that not only had she met someone else, but she had fallen deep in love with this individual and they were getting married. Now to add insult to injury, she says, by the way, I gave you my favorite photograph of myself when you left. I'd like for you to return that because that's the photo I would like to use in my engagement announcement in the local paper. Well, the guys that were with him on the battlefield heard about it, and they went around collecting extra pictures of their girlfriends. And they packed them all in a shoebox and had almost a box full. And they wrote this little note. It simply said, I'm going to send all these. Would you please select the one that belongs to you and return the rest? For the life of me, I can't remember which one you were. We don't like to see people hurting. And we'll do anything we can to make sure that we can help alleviate suffering anytime we can. But it wasn't the case for Jesus and his disciples that day. We know it's one thing for the soldiers to turn on Jesus, but not his own disciples. I mean, where were they after all? Their response to Jesus, well, it's like so many of us have when we have to face life's hard decisions. Well, I guess the question we'll ask today then is when life gets hard, where do you find yourself with Jesus? We've been asking all along, where do you find yourself with Jesus? What will you do with Jesus? But when life gets hard, what will you do with Jesus?